In the headlines of VTV News, Prime Minister Phie gives state gifts to workers in Giang Province. Vietnamese companies face challenges due to rising tensions in Red Sea. And later on in our world news, France appoints youngest prime minister in history.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam, VTV News starts right now.
Hello there, this is VTV News broadcast live from Hanoi. You're with me, Lina Pham, and here's the top news of the hour. State President Wan on January the 10th hosted separate receptions for the ambassadors of New Zealand and Peru, who came to bid farewell at the end of their terms.
Meeting with New Zealand Ambassador Ttin Province, the state president expressed his delight that the two countries have promoted their multifaceted cooperation for socio-economic recovery, laying stress on the sound collaboration in the areas of economy, trade, investment, defense, security, education, and training. Vietnam and New Zealand have supported each other at the international and multilateral forums, he said, describing this as a positive basis for the two sides to bolster cooperation activities towards the 50th anniversary of diplomatic ties in 2025. The state leader spoke highly of the ambassador's activities to promote people-to-people exchange, expressing his hope that Ttin, in any positions, will continue promoting the Vietnam-New Zealand relations.
Receiving Peruvian Ambassador Augusto Morelli, the state president congratulated the diplomat on his excellent tenure in Vietnam, which has contributed to the sound ties between the two nations. Peru is an important partner of Vietnam in the Latin American region, he said, adding the two countries have shared the vision and supported each other at the regional and international forums. He appreciated the South American country for supporting Vietnamese enterprises to land investment there, expressing his hope that further efforts will be made by both sides to increase the two-way trade revenue. The Peruvian ambassador stated that Vietnam is the leading partner of Peru in ASEAN, and hailed Vietnamese investors for investment projects and programs in the country.
Prime Minister Phie visited Giang Province on January the 10th and attended the gift-giving program of party and state leaders to workers, laborers, poor households, and people in difficult circumstances in the area, presenting gifts for over 100 workers at Hyundai VTVgo company in Dai An Industrial Park. Prime Minister Phie praised the efforts and contributions of workers and employees across the nation towards the country's overall achievements. He emphasized the party and state's viewpoint that no one should be left without celebrating a date of the Lunar New Year, and no one should be left behind. The Prime Minister also visited and presented gifts to the poor in Thai Hop Commune, Chi Linh City of Giang Province. Ho Chi Minh City People's Committee and the Central Citizen Board of the Government Inspectorate recently held a meeting with resident representatives in the Thủ Thiêm New Urban Area in Ho Chi Minh City's District 2 to settle a contentious land dispute in the locality. At the meeting, the residents were informed about the result of inspection related to the project. Accordingly, all households in 5 neighborhoods in 3 wards of Old District 2 are located within the planning boundaries. Only about 4.3 hectares in Quarter 1, Bình An Ward District 2, is outside the planning boundary. Earlier, Prime Minister assigned the Government Inspectorate to inspect, review, and clarify the contents of the people's complaints on the land planning, land recovery, compensation, and support for resettlement. The Prime Minister has approved the planning of Ttin Province for the period 2021 to 2030. The main objective is for Ttin to become a centrally run city by 2025. As a result, the province is actively pursuing its goals, which include investing in infrastructure in satellite towns to stimulate local economic development.
Phong Dien district has invested in building green spaces to create a highlight for the locality. Additionally, the district is currently working on completing the LED lighting system, automatic watering system, and tree planting.
We are currently working on this space and expect to finish the work at the beginning of next year.
Investments are being made in several urban projects and major routes, including National Highway 1A and provincial roads. The expansion of roads and sidewalks is underway, and the implementation of tree planting and lighting system is scheduled to begin soon.
The town is a locality at the province's northern gateway. We focus on urban development, especially in terms of infrastructure. We will invest more in transportation infrastructure in the near future.
The province is investing in the infrastructure of the Phong Dien Industrial Park. This investment aims to create a new driving force for the province development and promote the growth of businesses in sectors such as textile and garment, fashion, mineral processing, and exploitation.
The infrastructure in the northern and southern areas of the province has been upgraded. The infrastructure in the central area of the province has also been developed to improve its urban appearance.
Transportation infrastructure is expected to facilitate the development of surrounding areas and create a foundation for socio-economic development. This will also contribute to Ttin Province becoming a centrally run city by 2025.
The banking industry aims for a credit growth rate of 15% this year. However, each commercial bank will be assigned a different rate based on their ranking in terms of risk and safety ratios, liquidity ratios, capital structure, and loan structure. It is worth noting that green and sustainable growth areas will receive more support, including preferential interest rates this year.
The green growth indicators have officially taken effect, enabling banks and businesses to access green capital at preferential interest rates. Vietnam, in particular, will receive support worth $15.5 billion under the Just Energy Transition Partnership.
As domestic banks can be more proactive in their credit growth, clean and sustainable energy developers will be more confident in developing green and sustainable energy projects in Vietnam.
Currently, deposit interest rates are at their lowest level in history. This serves as the foundation for reducing lending interest rates. Experts suggest the need to enhance reporting and monitoring mechanisms to prevent rapid credit growth among a specific group of customers.
It's important to distribute credit properly to ensure even monthly credit growth, avoiding shocks at sensitive times.
In 2023, credit accounted for approximately half of the total capital supplied to the economy. In order to maximize resources for growth, it is necessary to enhance the role of other capital channels.
Capital from corporate bond stocks, foreign direct investment, and public investment are crucial sources that help facilitate the circulation of capital flows in the economy. This, in turn, reduces pressure on the banking system.
In 2023, the value of newly issued corporate bonds exceeded $12 billion. Disbursed FDI capital reached a record high of nearly $23.2 billion, while realized public investment capital amounted to approximately $27.7 billion. These resources, along with timely bank credit, have contributed to Vietnam achieving a higher economic growth rate than the global average.
Now, Red Sea tensions have spelled trouble for global supply chains. Logistic cost has increased significantly over time, posing a great challenge for Vietnam's trading activities with American and European partners. Among affected sectors, textiles, footwear, and wooden furniture have taken a hit.
This enterprise imports wooden raw materials from European countries. Their cargoes pass the Red Sea en route to Vietnam. Due to the ongoing tensions, shipping costs have increased by $1,000 for every 40-foot container.
Even though it has increased by $1,000, shipping lines are not sure if the price will continue increasing and they will add surcharges into the bills.
Freight costs add more to product prices. Furthermore, trading time has also increased due to the tensions, thus the lack of raw materials is emerging as a real threat to production. Businesses in the aluminium sector import about 60% of their raw materials from Europe and the US. These are also their two main export markets.
Orders were signed long ago, so we cannot change the prices due to the tensions. Now, the prolonged shipping time has also put a negative impact on the costs for us.
The time around our Tet festival is a bustling one for trading activities. Our orders have decreased or postponed until March, waiting for the situation to cool down.
The Ministry of Industry and Trade has just recommended methods for businesses to respond.
Enterprises have to negotiate with partners on extended delivery times. They have to deal with partners on additional costs due to prolonged shipping time.
Businesses should also switch to rail shipping lines and buy insurance to prevent possible risks if the Red Sea tensions remain unresolved.
Coming up next, localities to soon exploit sea sand to meet the demand for sand embankment materials for highway projects in the Mekong Delta. And Ttin Province applies favorable policies for ethnic students. You're watching VTV News. Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh has just signed official dispatch number 2 directing removing difficulties related to construction norms and prices, as well as exploiting and supplying construction materials for key national transportation projects. In the dispatch, the Prime Minister directed localities to soon exploit sea sand to meet the demand for sand embankment materials to ensure progress for much-needed highway projects in the Mekong Delta region. More in the following.
After a year under construction, the Cần Thơ Cà Mau Expressway project has only reached about 15% of the progress, and the project is running about 5 months behind schedule. The reason for the delay is the lack of sand for embankment materials. Sea sand has emerged as a potential replacement.
The investor has been looking for alternative sources of sand and at the same time speeding up the progress of testing sea sand for a possible source of embankment materials.
The sea under Ttin Province's administration has 6 areas for sand exploitation for embankment materials. The total capacity is about 14 billion cubic meters. The province is ready to contribute this resource for key national projects.
The province can provide sea sand as embankment materials for all current transportation projects in the region. Sea sand does not have high salinity, thus it is environmentally friendly.
We have modern techniques available to treat sea sand for embankment materials. However, the cost of applying this material is a problem. We are working on the calculation and will soon have a final decision.
Key transportation projects in the Mekong Delta need a huge source of sand for the embankment process. It is expected that in the next few years, 54 million blocks of sand will be needed. The current abundant reserves of sea sand not only meet the immediate but also long-term construction needs of the whole area. Currently, the pilot phase of using sea sand as embankment materials has shown positive results.
Saltwater intrusion from the sea into the Mekong Delta's water bodies is expected to peak in March, according to the Directorate of Water Resources. Some localities along the Tien and Hậu rivers, such as Vĩnh Long, Cần Thơ, Bến Tre, and Tiền Giang, may experience local saline drought. The Directorate said the intrusion would be worse than normal due to the extreme El Nino weather system. To mitigate the problem, farmers have sowed their rice earlier and increased increase storage of water to irrigate fruit trees. Before the ongoing dry season, local authorities tightened monitoring of saltwater intrusion to inform the public to take preventive measures and encouraged households to store rainwater. Vietnam's agricultural sector as a whole produces around 1/3 of the country's total greenhouse gas emissions. The use of farmable and fertilizer in rice production accounts for the majority of agricultural emissions. Facing the emissions riddle, the agricultural sector has switched to sustainable farming practices.
The 2023 crop marks the first successful application of new farming techniques for Gum's family. Their income from the rice harvest was the highest in years thanks to the selective use of fertilizers.
At first, it was very difficult for us because we didn't know how to do it right. But after one successful use, I found it productive in terms of plant health and yields.
Various types of greenhouse gases are produced during agricultural production, including a mass amount of methane emissions. It is estimated that a few advanced farming techniques may help reduce carbon dioxide emissions. One of these techniques involves alternating dry and wet irrigation and soil cleaning. It helps reduce pests and diseases transmitted from one crop to another, eliminates toxins, and accelerates the regeneration of soil nutrients.
To create favorable conditions for effective emissions reduction solutions, we need to plant our crop annually. We will encourage farmers to prep their lands, sow their seeds, fertilize, and irrigate their crops.
Currently, much of Vietnam's rice production still follows traditional practices, most of which are unprofitable. With 3 new sustainable ones, namely water saving, fertilizer production, and proper store treatment, it is anticipated that Ttin Province could reduce up to 75,000 tons of greenhouse gas emissions per year.
Students in remote mountainous areas in Ttin Province encounter a host of difficulties whilst assessing education. The entire political system has joined hands to provide better conditions for these students and also gradually increases the quality of local education and training.
This boarding high school for ethnic students specializes in creating a source of ethnic staff to meet the requirements of local socioeconomic development. The school is in phase 2 with an investment capital of about $1 million.
The investment allows us to equip specialized teaching rooms for each subject and a good library. These will improve teaching quality.
The state has issued policies to create favorable conditions and better education for ethnic students. The quality of teachers and educational administrators in mountainous areas has improved significantly and meets the requirements for educational innovation.
Teachers often award students with outstanding results and performances. Scholarships are also granted to encourage students.
We, teachers, teach students knowledge and skills. We also encourage them to treasure their valuable ethnic culture.
The authorities have put huge efforts to improve the quality of education for ethnic students in Ttin Province.
Students with bad grades can apply for additional classes. Gifted students receive support. These are the localities' spearheads in improving the quality of education for ethnic students.
It can be said that efforts to improve the quality of education for ethnic students in Ttin Province have greatly contributed to the socio-economic development of remote areas in the province.
In recent years, the people and authorities of many localities have joined forces to develop creative programs for a better livelihood. In Nghĩa Đô Commune, Bảo Yên District, Lào Cai Province, one such program is community tourism. Besides pure agricultural work, this model has brought about positive change for the community.
Luang Cao Thế, vice chairman of the local people's committee, has diligently taught his neighbors to build tourism homestays. The people here are only ever familiar with agricultural production, but they have difficulties when they started working in tourism.
We encouraged people to harvest environmentally friendly materials to make decorative garments that would blend in well with natural landscape. Everything should be spotless from our entrances to gardens.
They also provide guidance on trust categorization and livestock care. He wishes for the community to appear and feel clean while retaining the original ethnic touch. 2 years since the community tourism model was first implemented, 28 more ethnic households have joined the local homestay business.
Our family used to barely make ends meet. However, we have earned our first profits from this tourism program and have been able to afford our children's education.
I think this kind of service is a fun job to do. Even though it can be too much on my own sometimes, I get to welcome guests from everywhere in the country, with their own unique lifestyle and backgrounds.
In 2023, 5 homestays in Nghĩa Đô Commune won the ASEAN Tourism Awards 2023.
Bearing the responsibility of both a community leader and a member of the party, I have taken it upon myself to do tourism for my family and then encourage my fellow ethnic people to follow suit. I will continue to persuade those who haven't. I want them to make a sustainable livelihood for themselves. More importantly, I want to develop my hometown both socially and economically.
Hanoi has recently received a recognition in 2 prestigious award categories by TripAdvisor, a renowned global travel review platform. In the 2023 Best Destinations list voted on by users, Hanoi secured the 17th spot among the cities most favored by international tourists. TripAdvisor describes Hanoi as an ancient and charming capital with numerous well-preserved monuments. Hanoi was also acknowledged in the Best Culinary Destination category, in which it achieved the 3rd position. The city's renowned dishes, including bún chả, coffee, chả cá, and phở, were highlighted. Coming up next in our world news, France appoints the youngest prime minister in history. And as Hezbollah official killed in Israeli drone strike. Gabriel Attal has been named France's new prime minister by French President Emmanuel Macron as he looks to reshuffle his government. The 34-year-old former French education minister will be France's youngest ever prime minister. During Macron's 2nd term, Gabriel Attal was tapped to lead the Ministry of Public Works and Public Accounts before serving as Minister of Education and since July 2023. His political career has been the object of good public sentiment thanks to his fierce approach to school reform. Gabriel Attal has emerged as a promising candidate in France's next presidential election in 2027. Israel on Tuesday said it killed Ali Hussein Baji, the commander of Hezbollah's aerial forces in southern Lebanon, in a reported Israeli airstrike. Israeli military chief spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari confirmed that the senior Hezbollah commander was responsible for dozens of drone attacks on northern Israel in recent months. On the same day, Hezbollah also confirmed the death of its commander Ali Hussein Baji. The confrontations between Hezbollah and Israel since October the 8th have reportedly killed 158 Hezbollah members. Japan's Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport and Tourism announced on Tuesday upgraded safety measures for air traffic control operations at Japanese airports following deadly Haneda Airport runway collision on January the 2nd. As one of the emergency safety measures, the ministry announced that it has stopped the practice of communicating the order of takeoff, such as calling number 1 when giving instructions from air traffic controllers to aircraft. The ministry's new emergency measures call for making sure pilots understand the terminology specifically related to runway entry, urging them to repeat the instructions given by the traffic controls and ask if they are uncertain. In addition, a number of airports in Japan are requested to repaint their runway entry indicators. In the ancient city of Pompeii, Italy, archaeologists have had their hand full with preserving the Roman-era site. A new project is breathing life back into Pompeii by reviving ancient crafts and production techniques, including traditional methods for the dyeing of fabric.
As tourists explore Pompeii, staff at the site hope to provide insight into the artisanship of the ancient Romans. Pompeii's director, Gabriel Zuchtriegel, has been overseeing a project reviving ancient crafts and production techniques. One of the revived techniques is the dyeing of fabric.
For example, for dyeing textiles, they used natural materials, clearly. They didn't have any chemical.
For years, master garden historian Maurizio Bartolini has been studying the ancient texts of the Roman naturalist Pliny the Elder to learn about the plants that once grew and what they were used for.
We have a dye garden where we cultivate from Siguedo, La Robia, the plants I mentioned before. Then we harvest them and extract the pigment and work with them until we have the final product, which are our clothes.
In addition to Bartolini, Zuchtriegel also called on master dyer Claudio Cuccioli, who makes his own line of clothing using dyes derived from plants, to help with the project. Zuchtriegel and Cuccioli chose motifs from the frescoes in Pompeii's House of Veti to be reproduced using natural dyes from plants similar to those used in Pompeii. Half the profits from the sale of the scarves will go to restoration projects in Pompeii.
And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. And that's it for this edition of VTV News. Thank you very much for watching. To rewatch our program, you can download VTVgo from App Store or Google Play, or tune in our YouTube channel at youtube.com/VTV4Go. See you again 3 p.m. local time. Goodbye for now.